Hey, yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of the Generational Beef Podcast. I'm your host, Tristan Terrell, as well as my dad,
Noel Terrell, Generational Beef. And maybe someday brought to you by William and Lauren, who makes the best custom suit in Oklahoma City.
We keep on hoping. Keep on plugging.
I have 8 of them.
Yeah.
I bought you 2.
True. I gotta go pick mine up from the dry cleaners. Not my jackets, but my pants and shirt. Anyways. We got a decent amount to get through today. Obviously, the bulk of the episode will be our final division preview, which, in case you didn't know, there is a 100% chance this week that it will be the NFC North. So some would say maybe the best for last. Maybe not. We'll see. I am excited in that. I do think that purely based on differences, we could really get somewhere with that one. It'll be a lot of fun to talk about. Anyways, we do also have several topics to quickly hit on prior to that, so we can discuss those relatively big deals. First of which is the Peyton Watson trade, with the Denver Nuggets sending him to Cleveland, and he got his bag, 4-year, $88 million. And this is crazy because he has been in the league for, I think, 3 years now. His last year in college, I think he went to UCLA, I can't remember for certain, but he averaged 3.3 points. And his rookie season in the NBA, he averaged 3.3 points per game. And has just become such a versatile piece that can shoot the three, that is extremely athletic, very good defensively, that he just got himself a bag, got traded to Cleveland.
But last season, wasn't he at 14 points a game?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just saying that, like, the crazy progression over, like, a couple of years.
Yeah.
But he's turned himself into a really good three-point shooter, pretty good finisher, driver of the paint, and a great defensive player.
Look, this is simple. This makes no sense. It just doesn't. It makes sense for Cleveland, right? It doesn't make sense for the Nuggets, and here's why.
Well, I mean, obviously it makes sense. It's the only logical outcome. Not that it's a good idea or a good move or whatever.
So maybe I misspoke on what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, is that when you have a generational talent in Jokic, nearing late prime probably, you're win now every season.
Agreed.
This does not make your team better. It's great that you got some picks out of the deal, right? But you're win now. I'm going to say something that's – hold on. I'm going to say something that's an overreaction to this, and I don't actually mean it, but it makes you think this, right? Like, if you're going to trade critical parts away in this moment, especially in a year where at best you're the third best team, and at this point I'm not sure that's true, right, in the West, you might as well just start completely over. Trade Jokic. It's an overreaction, and I said that, and I'm not saying that I would do that for the Nuggets.
Now,
but you just made your team worse when you're already at best the third best team.
So here's what I'm going to tell you, and sure, you mentioned the picks. That doesn't matter. It was the salary, obviously. They're already in the second apron. You had to get rid of the salary. There was nothing really you could do. They were pretty pigeonholed based on the league rules.
You can live in the second apron.
Well, they still are. My point is that because they're already in it, they didn't really have an option. If he wanted a contract, they couldn't. I mean, they just couldn't give it to him.
But you're also not at a point. He's still under contract.
Yeah, technically speaking, he would be on a qualifying offer.
To me, even if you wrote it out till the trade deadline and just to see what he was performing at, right? Again, you have to be win now every season.
Yeah.
And you just made your team worse when you have a guy under contract right now.
Don't get me wrong. Okay, so don't get me wrong. They are obviously worse today than they were yesterday, or whenever the trade happened. And it was not a good move. And I'm not trying to defend the Denver Nuggets at all. I think it's a bad decision. And I think
because every season around Jokic, you have to put the best roster on the court that you can.
But here's where I'm going to get to the point where I'm almost closer to what you said that isn't true about trading Jokic. That's not going to happen, nor should it happen. I'm not trying to say that. However, if they still had Peyton Watson on their roster, obviously they're a better team than they are now, right? If they still had Peyton Watson on their roster, what is the % chance you give them in a playoff series against the Oklahoma City Thunder?
0.
With Peyton Watson on the roster?
Oh, with him? It's still not great, but it's better than 0.
Sure.
10, 15%.
Okay. And what % chance do you give them in a 7-game series against the San Antonio Spurs?
Same.
Okay. So I guess my point being that if this doesn't actually legitimately, because of the top two teams and how dominant and how good they are, how generationally talented these two rosters are, if this doesn't get you to the point with, even with a generational top 15 player in the history of the sport in Nikola Jokic on your roster, doesn't get you to be a true contender, you have to see what they do out of this, right? With the slight more flexibility, they haven't gotten much, right? They're still in the second apron. But the slight more flexibility, you got to see what they do over the next couple of years with it. If they do turn it into being an overall better roster eventually, then it could turn out to be
But you
not
just said the pivotal piece in a couple of years.
Yeah, no, and I understand.
When you have a generational player like Jokic, you have a responsibility to put the best team on the court every season. And even if they had ridden this out to the trade deadline, maybe you get more out of him. Maybe he plays even better this season. But you gave him up when he's already under contract. And I get what you're saying. I can't re-sign him right now, and that's fine. But you could have gotten more for him potentially later. If the team is gelling and playing great and looks better than we thought, then you keep him and you just ride it out and you get a title, and then you lose him. But the point is, I agree. I understand what you're saying fundamentally, that your odds still aren't great at beating the top two teams in the West even with him. But they are significantly better than they were without him, because without him, it's 0, right?
I don't know that it's 0, because ultimately you do still have Nikola Jokic, so say it's 5, right?
I get that.
But again...
But at this point, it almost feels like you're like, to your point, we're not in a rebuild, but we're in a retool to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But
I think that's true even if he's on their roster.
But anything can happen this season. When you have a player like that, what if all of a sudden he becomes injury prone? Which could happen. And then all of a sudden he wasted these last few years of his prime. And I think his prime could still be 3 to 5 years, right? So I don't see any drop off yet. And I don't know that that's around the corner.
It's not like there's ever going to be an athletic decline of Nikola Jokic.
Correct, which is why his prime can certainly be extended.
Well, and I would say the biggest concern of him losing his prime would just be, like you said, what if he does happen to become a guy that starts getting banged up and can't play a full 75, 80 games. And because he's not athletic,
that's less likely to happen.
But can still happen. He's a big dude, and
of course,
injuries
when you carry
happen.
that kind of weight, it can occur.
My
point is, again, and I know I've said it a couple times, and we can move on, but when you have that level of a player, right? We've seen this happen to Giannis with the Bucks. They just didn't. They just didn't put the right players around him. And typically speaking, for a while now, the Nuggets have been pretty well run. But this just feels like we're giving up on this season. I know they're not, and I know they're going to compete, and I know Jokic is going to be great, and he's a top 3 MVP candidate this year. He has to be. But I would be really frustrated right now if I were a Denver fan.
No, and fundamentally that is definitely very true.
As a Thunder fan, I'm happy it occurred.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And here's what I will say. Here's the question I want to pose, right? Because you brought up the point of them being well run. I do believe that, right? They did put a good roster around him.
And
I don't necessarily believe what I'm going to say, but it is a conversation to be had, right? Because last year Jamal Murray did have the best year of his career. He finally made an all-star team for the first time in his career. He was really good. And Aaron Gordon just cannot stay healthy other than the title year. But
I know he is so freaking valuable.
He's a phenomenal piece around Nikola Jokic.
He fits so well because of the defensive burden he takes off of Jokic.
Yeah, and Peyton Watson has been really good. Obviously now he's gone, but he's been really, really good. The question I want to pose, and again, like I said, I don't know that I believe it. The title run, could it have been them catching lightning in a bottle a little bit, and maybe the roster was never as good around Jokic as we believed it to be, and he was just that dude, and they had that playoff run?
all of those things can be true at the same time.
Fair enough.
For example, the Knicks, right? Their roster is not even close to the best roster in basketball.
Right. But it was still well constructed.
They caught lightning in a bottle. They were well coached. Brunson is Brunson. Like, it all worked out when it worked out, right?
Yeah.
So all of those things can be true at the same time. And we know that Jokic is a generational player. He's going to go down as one of the top players ever to play the game, right? Mm-hmm. You can't waste that. Look, if I'm the Nuggets GM, I'm not trading him because I feel like there's no way we're going to get a roster back around him in the prime of the other two really young rosters. I'm not doing that. However, what are you going to get for him? You could really rebuild a team, right?
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting it's the right move, and it would be anarchy if they did it in Denver, right? This would be up there, if not bigger than the Luka thing.
Chet Holmgren and 7 first-round picks.
Yes.
Yes. It would never happen. First of all, they're never going to trade Nikola Jokic, and even if they did, the Thunder would never not that we wouldn't offer remember it,
I said no about that with Giannis.
Right.
But Jokic is just different. Could you imagine him and Shea on the court at the same time? There's no defense for that.
Yeah.
There's no defense for that.
Yeah. It's not Steph and KD, but it's darn close.
It's really freaking close. Really close. So, anyway, we can move on. If I'm a Denver fan today, I'm pissed.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. Quick side note. It's not something I had written down on my list of topics today, but just because I thought about it off top real quick. The Lakers did sell once again. It's my point here is not to talk about the Lakers sale. I don't really care. But again, nothing. Not that I expect anything to happen. This is how I thought about it. You said, what if Jokic gets traded, but that's not going to happen. Same kind of thing. It's not going to happen. But Shams did say that send out a report that there are more than 0 teams monitoring the current Lakers situation based on if things start to go rocky with current ownership and whether or not that means, there's maybe not a meshing with Luka. Maybe they don't want
I don't even want to get into that. Next.
Maybe Luka hates the management and wants
I
out.
Don't care. Next.
It's not a non-zero topic.
It's a non-zero topic right now.
Anyways.
There's no reason to believe any of that right now.
Klay Thompson, which could be a big deal. We've been talking about this whole time, playing the devil's advocate argument because of how deep the East has gotten about what these different moves mean because, is there still a world where these teams miss the playoffs? And we've been talking about you just got to put shooting around that team. There's not a ton of shooting. And we were talking about how big the Tim Hardaway Jr. signing is. Well, now you just added Klay Thompson. And yes, Klay is past his prime. Yes, Klay is old. Yes, he's not going to be the defender that he was. But if he's on an island and he doesn't have to move and he can just shoot the basketball, Klay Thompson can shoot a basketball. So
he's the streakiest shooter of all time. He had the best quarter in NBA history, and he's had some of the worst ones. Look, here's the thing. This is the only question I would ask. First, there's 2 things. Let me go to the first one first. I didn't see the financials. If you got him for a vet minimum, there's no harm.
It was really low. I don't know if it's technically vet minimum, but it was.
And even if it's just a 1-year deal, even if it's more than that, it doesn't matter. There's no harm to it. Right. You had to put something on that roster. However, number 2, and I mean this with all due respect, when he was in his prime with Curry, there was very few things that were more fun to watch. And I hate the 3-point game, but they were so good at it, and he would get so streaky hot. It was fun to watch, right? But when was the last time we saw good Klay at this point?
Well, in fairness,
it wasn't even the last season in Golden State.
Well, he was hurt, and they weren't a good team. But that's
been also another problem.
But, right, and in Dallas, he wasn't on a team that was good. We thought it could have been theoretically, but AD got traded. Kyrie was hurt. All the things gone wrong.
But again, it's been
I guess my point is now he's going to be on a team where he's playing competitive, meaningful basketball, basically for the first time since they won their last title. So not to say that makes a difference, but considering he is literally nothing in terms of value on their roster in the sense of like there's going to be no burden or pressure on him.
I'll say two things that sums this
now
entire
your
thing
starting
up.
lineup is going to be Davion Mitchell, right? Either Tim Hardaway Jr. or Klay Thompson.
None of that's
Andrew
relevant.
Wiggins, Giannis, and Bam, with the other shooter coming off the bench. I mean, it's a good team.
None of it's relevant. I'll bring up 2 points. It sums it up, and we can move on. One, if the financials are minimal, it doesn't matter.
Right.
2, I don't think it's going to make a difference. Therefore, it's a non-thing in my opinion.
But to your
if he
point,
plays great, no one's going to root for that more than me. I would love to see him have a resurgence. I just don't see it.
Sure.
But it doesn't. But even though it may not move the needle for that team, and I don't think it does, but we'll see. Even if it doesn't move the needle, it doesn't matter because the financials aren't risky.
Sure. To your point, though, about the streakiness, if he gets hot and it happens to be in April, he can be a deciding factor on them winning a playoff series. He really could.
I don't disagree with that.
Obviously, it's a big if.
I don't know that version. Look, if he's coming off the bench and playing 15 or less minutes a game, then I think it's probably pretty good.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's he's not going to have to do literally anything other than shoot, especially because of his old age.
But how much of a difference it's going to make, I don't know.
Fair.
Does it result in 1 or 2 wins in the season? Maybe.
The next thing I want to briefly talk about, and it doesn't have to be a major point, but just more so sad on my childhood thing. I want to pose this question first. In NFL history, there are 3 players ever to average 5 yards per carry, 70 yards per game, and score 50-plus touchdowns in their career. Do you know the names on that list?
I know 2 of them for sure.
Okay,
Jim Brown.
which are? Okay, true.
Nick Chubb.
True.
And was it Derrick Henry? I can't remember who the third was.
Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders, which makes sense.
So Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, and Nick Chubb. My point to be, shout out Nick Chubb on his retirement. Really sad to see the way he went out. The peak of Nick Chubb as a pure runner is insane to me. He was so freaking good. Just so many injuries, so many bad situations in Cleveland.
Look, and the 2 biggest what-ifs in history of the it's up there. 1, what if he's not injury prone? Mm-hmm. 2, what if he's anywhere but the Browns?
No, literally. Quite literally. I mean, he was so dynamic, and he was so good. And I remember, and you can have an opinion.
And the explosiveness, when he would get through that offensive line or that defensive line, it was over.
You can have an opinion one way or another, right? And we can talk about what's right, what's wrong. But the fact of the matter is that the conversation was valid to be had. I remember in 2019 to 2021, right, in that time frame, Derrick Henry did have a 2,000-yard season. And I know we disagreed here, but we had the conversation, you and I did, about whether or not, or whether the better running back was Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry. And again, we can have differing opinions on whether or not that's right.
It's clearly Derrick Henry because he did it over a long period of time.
But
at one point, that's a valid argument.
But my point is, my point is, the fact that it was a valid conversation means at his peak, he was truly, truly phenomenal. And he, again, injuries and other situation away, which obviously is everything in the NFL,
argue
from being an all-time great.
This is a bigger what-if than Gurley because Gurley was on an elite team.
Fair, but Gurley was so good.
I know.
They both were. They were both
But he didn't do 5 yards a game and score 50 touchdowns. Could you imagine what Nick Chubb could have done on that team? Or better yet, here's the question I would pose to you, and it's a stupid question, but it's reality.
Sure.
One thing that's overlooked about Zeke and his career is it's still in the last decade or so, he's the 3rd or 4th leading rusher. And I don't think he could carry Chubb's helmet, right? And so could you imagine Nick Chubb behind that offensive line that Zeke had? Would it be
an absurd statement?
He might have run for 2,000 yards.
Well, not only that, but would it be an absurd statement to say in some of the years that were really good for them, like 2016, I think 2021 might have been.
Dak's early years, yeah.
Right. Would it be an absurd statement to say that if Nick Chubb was there and he was healthy, that they could have legitimately contended? Not maybe won it, but contended.
I mean,
past like
it just depends.
The Cowboys are a
in the
meme.
playoffs. It's always the playoffs with them. They typically have a competitive team in the regular season, typically speaking.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go there. My point was I brought them up because they've always had pretty elite offensive line play.
Yeah.
And they obviously did, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Zeke either. He had a 4 or 5 year stretch where he was great.
Right.
But Nick Chubb was way better. And so if like I said, two biggest questions for him: what if he's not injury prone, and what if he plays anywhere, anywhere really, but definitely a few teams for sure, than Cleveland? What does he look like in his career? It is a sad ending. I think it's actually a little bigger than the Gurley thing. I think Gurley was a better back in general, but Gurley was in a much better situation than Chubb ever was.
Right.
I mean, that's just a fact.
Yeah, completely. Anyways, shout out Todd Gurley. Like I said, one of the guys that had a crazy peak in
his
his
height was so
years.
nuts that you're like, he's dominating the league for the next 5 years, and then bam.
Mm-hmm. The next one I want to mention is kind of an ongoing situation, and so it'll be interesting to see how it ends up shaking out. But have you heard about the Dae'Quan Wright situation?
Yes. I can give you 2 seconds on this.
Well, yeah, so slight backstory, played 2 years at Virginia Tech, was recruited by Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, transferred to Ole Miss to play tight end for 2 years, went undrafted this year in the draft, was on the practice squad / training camp roster for both the Eagles and the Browns as an undrafted free agent.
And if you get cut by the Browns, by the way, that's not good. But
right. Got waived, and now just got picked up again by Lane Kiffin at LSU to play tight end for him.
Look, all this says is what we've been saying now for months. The NCAA is a joke, and no rule matters anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He was on a professional roster. I get he didn't end up making the team. He was on the payroll of a professional football team.
Mm-hmm.
Never played a game. I got it. And now he's back at a college. Like, it means nothing anymore.
No tradition. No.
Yeah, abolish the NCAA at this point. Like, what does it do?
No tradition, no integrity, nothing.
What does it do?
Yeah. I mean, it's completely valid.
There was a time where if you were a professional athlete in any sport, you couldn't go play college athletics anymore in any sport.
Right. Now, for what it's worth, the Big Ten, as soon as this story broke, as soon as it happened, the Big Ten passed a rule that said, and I get this is like literally the most obvious point ever, but they passed a rule that said if you were a pro athlete, you cannot come back.
Look,
and the reason I said this is an ongoing situation...
You know he's not enrolled in school either.
Right. Well, because this, like I said, because this is an ongoing situation, right before we started recording, I got a notification that the SEC did the same thing. So now the question is, does he apply to that rule because he was on the roster of LSU technically?
So. Because at least the conferences have power.
Right. He was on the roster of LSU before they passed that rule, technically speaking. So is it going to retroactively go back and kick him off the team? I don't know.
And to be fair, I'm not targeting this kid. I know he's trying to maximize on his earning potential while he can. He obviously didn't do good in these camps. He'll probably be a decent SEC player. I'm not necessarily blaming him.
And who knows, maybe if he has a good season in 2026 then at LSU, then he would actually get drafted.
Maybe.
Who knows?
But I guess my point is, it's not so much about him and what he's trying to do.
That's what I was saying.
It just shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Absolutely.
But right now, the NCAA has no teeth. And you're seeing it right now because the conferences are passing these rules, and they will be held.
Yeah. The last one I want to get on in the point of college athletics, and it goes very similarly to the point of just having no integrity. This one's not as big of a deal. I've just been very anti it. I'm not a massive baseball guy. I haven't really ever been. But with the growth of AI and the growth of technology and that kind of stuff, I have always been very anti in any sport, but specifically in baseball because it's so cut and dry, so it would be very easy to do. Very anti using AI as refs, right? Or like anything like that. Because yes, we could make it very black and white in a lot of situations for a lot of sports. But there's a human element of it. There's a reason you play the game and you don't just look at what roster is better, right? There's a reason these things happen. And there's a reason that you have humans that are going to make mistakes in those positions as well. The NCAA announced today that across all divisions of baseball, starting this coming season, they will be using an automatic ball strike system that is going to take the human element of that out, and it will be very cut or dry. Was it a ball or was it a strike? And it will be a confirmed answer every single time, which, again, isn't obviously near as big of a deal as the Dae'Quan Wright situation, but to me, it just takes some sort of an element away from it, and kind of going to what we've been talking about for a long time now about tradition and all this kind of stuff going away from college sports. It just seems to me like you're just taking another human element away from it. You're taking another thing that, like, I don't even really know how to put it into words.
I understand completely where you're coming from, and I'm going to have a little bit different take on this than you're going to expect.
Okay.
I'm obviously a tradition in sports person. That's no mystery. However, there is a part of sports that has turned into, and you don't really see this in the NFL as much because the replay is used very differently than in some of the other sports, right? And there's some, strict usages and everything else, right? And you really got to use it at the right time, or it doesn't matter, right? This has become the most annoying thing in the history of sport, right?
Well, in baseball, that means home run.
No, I know, but there's another one they do. I don't even remember what it is. But let me give you an example. When we were at this game a few weeks ago. You weren't there, but Mom and India and her boyfriend Landon were there. In the first inning, that happened 3 times. And every time, guess what? The ref was wrong. So, Look, I don't like it, but to be honest, I would rather that than the bullshit stoppage of play while they look at it.
And that's a fair take.
And and even in the major leagues now, when they do look at it, it is AI.
No, I know
they
that.
have the answer too fast. If you're going to do it anyway and someone can just call for you to look at it again, then what does it matter? I don't like it, but I would rather that than have to stop and wait and someone act, But you know what part of it is? And I'm going to blame your generation a little bit and the one right below you. Everybody makes such a big deal, especially in the NBA, about a bad call, that it's like it's just easier than dealing with that drama, and it's easier than slowing the game down.
What I would say,
I don't like any of it. Like, technically in the NFL, we would never need to know when a first down existed. You put a damn chip in the ball, and if that chip crosses a invisible laser line, first down. There is never any doubt. Right?
So that's my point. I'm just not a fan of that.
I don't want it to do that. I don't want it to occur.
Right.
But at this point, the way they're using replay in baseball in general, especially for balls and strikes, right? It's different if we're not sure if they touched the bag or whatever. That's a little bit different a scenario to me. But for a ball, like, we're not even talking, like in baseball, I would almost consider a play is an at-bat.
Right, yeah.
We're in a position now, you could be using reviews multiple times in a single play. Like, it's just ridiculous, right? If you were to ask me what would I rather occur, use technology to call games or eliminate instant replay altogether, I would rather remove instant replay from all sports. And we just go with the human element in real time. That would be my preference.
Right.
Because, like, especially in the NBA, every time this happens, I'm like, oh my God, stop it. Like LeBron every 5 seconds.
Now, to play devil's advocate.
Anyway, my point is,
hold on,
they're already kind of doing it in baseball, so whatever.
But you attacked my generation, so I gotta push back a little bit. To play devil's advocate, there is always, throughout every time, everywhere, in sports, in life, no matter what, whenever you are on the wrong side of things, whenever you think you're being wrong, there are always people yelling and complaining and whatever.
I'm going to complain about the officiating, but I don't want to stop the game to look at it again.
My point being is that there were always players and stuff that would be yelling and that would be, arguing with the refs the whole game. It's just the difference is now you have the technology and the ability to change it where you didn't back then. You couldn't go pull up footage in the 90s most of the time.
And they did. We had replay in the 90s.
But my point is, in the 90s, the footage was grainy enough to where it would be really freaking hard to tell if they were right or wrong. My point being is that nowadays, just footage alone, you have so much more ability.
That everybody expects these people to be perfect all the time. Don't get me wrong. Some of the calls are so bad, it's like, what?
No, and I think that is fair, too. I think that the culture of, like, just being perfect and make no mistakes, and that's very toxic. They don't want to be held to that standard. Is the thing, too.
They don't want to be held to that standard. But they want an official to be, which, by the way, doesn't make a shit ton of money.
In fairness, I think that everybody expects everybody to be held to that standard at this point in time, and I think that is quite toxic, right? And so I believe that.
I mean, I don't hold my teams to that, but fair enough.
But that's my point, right? Is that's the life isn't perfect. Nobody is perfect. You shouldn't be held to that standard. But whenever you've got all the social media warriors online behind a keyboard, that's what everybody expects everybody to be, and so that's a real
high level
toxic part of
don't
life.
Really care because they're already kind of doing it anyway, and it's frustrating.
Fair enough.
I don't like it, but it is what it is.
The last topic I have before we get into our division preview is I saw this online, and I could not bring it up.
It's fair.
Donna Warner. And nobody knows who Donna Warner is, right?
Do.
For real?
I do.
Okay. All right, so that's more than I expected. But I didn't even know where this is. I didn't look it up. I should have done more research.
Rhode Island or Connecticut? It's up there.
It's in Newport, Rhode Island, actually. Okay. I remember reading that. Okay. Wanatonomy Golf Course. Donna Warner is
35 club championships over the last 35 years. Or 35 over the last 5 decades. She's 80 now, I think.
Yeah, she's 79 years old and just won in 2026. And so she's got what is the exact number? I don't have it. Yeah, 35 over the last 5 decades. She's 79 years old. The first one she won was in 1974, I think. Insane stuff, by the way.
I think her longest streak was 13 in a row at one point.
Right.
She had a span where this other woman took over and won 5 straight, and then she went on to win 13 straight, and then she hasn't won them in 4 or 5 years, and then she just brought it back out in 26 and just said, I'm going to do it again and win it. And I do believe during that stretch because I think she had 6 or 7 in a row, then this other woman won 5, and then she came back and won 13. I believe I read a few weeks ago that the 5 that she lost, she didn't play.
Really?
It's possible that if she had played those 5, she would have had 2 decades in a row.
Look, all the memes are just incredible.
Look, here's the thing.
Shout out Donna.
Look, it's an incredible, fun, feel-good story.
Right.
She's playing local golf at a local golf course. She's clearly really good, but it's not like she's playing LPGA talent.
No,
she's playing
obviously.
Other club members for a club championship. It's still impressive. If I were her, I'd brag about it to everyone, right? So I'm not suggesting.
So would everybody that ever exist?
I know. No, I'm not saying it's not impressive.
It's not like we're taking Bryson DeChambeau and putting him on right?
Yeah.
No, but that's my point.
I heard someone say that it was she's the most dominant golfer of the last 50 years, and no, she's not.
I mean, compared to her talent pool.
I don't even know if it's her talent pool against the people she's playing.
It might not be.
So my point is, she's clearly better than everybody at this club.
Yeah.
Right. And so my point is, I think it's a great story. It's a great feel-good story. She's clearly dominant. Ice in her veins against the competition she's playing. No question about any of it.
Who knows? There might not even be ice in her veins. She might just be up 80 strokes.
Maybe. But the other thing is you'd have to look it up. But I'm pretty sure that 5-year span that she didn't win it, not the most recent one, but when she went on that streak of 13 after that, I think I read she didn't play those 5. She had kind of retired from doing it and came back and then won 13 more.
She was probably just she's probably just on the sidelines, disgusted, ew, this golf is terrible. Let me go show them all.
The other thing, too, by the way, this is on the same course all the time. Who knows how often she's playing this course? She knows this course inside and out. There are other variables here. It's still a great story. It doesn't make her one of the best golfers of all time. It doesn't make her the most dominant golfer of all time, right? But it's a good story. It's awesome. Good for her.
Fun to talk about.
I would love to be able to do that once. So I'm not taking anything away from it. It's a crazy accomplishment. And then to be that consistent a golfer over that period of time is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
It's also in Rhode Island. They've got like 10 people there. So I don't know.
All right. We're going to get into our last division preview. And I guess we don't really need to bring up the little doopty-doopty wheel to side. Shout out. You did great work for us. But now we have the NFC North to get to. It's going to be very exciting. And I am intrigued by this, mostly because there's a lot of variability here, but also I think there is a possibility that we have none in the same spot. And I would say if I had to bet, the most likely one, if I had to bet right now, the most likely one I think that we have in the same spot would be number 2. I think is most likely.
Look, let me say
I'm
before
uncertain.
we dive in and talk about the teams.
Okay.
Top to bottom, this is the best division in football, and I don't think there's a debate about it. I have every team in this division with a winning record, 3 of them going to the playoffs.
So what I will say is, again, not trying to get into the teams, but we're going to have a different take on a couple things. I would make the argument that the AFC West, to me, is the tougher division. Now, again, that is drastically different because I have
top to bottom.
No, I know, and I have the. I think that because of how top-heavy I think the 3 teams are in the AFC West, how good I believe them all to be, I would take that as tougher.
But I think these teams are equally that good.
I don't think any of the
teams. But their bottom,
I
obviously believe that any team
I guess here's my
NFC
point.
North, hold on. Any team in the NFC North is better than the Raiders.
Yes, but I also believe that if you asked me, and I understand that we differ here, if you asked me, the top 3 teams in the AFC West, I believe are better than all 4 teams in the NFC North, in my opinion.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly. But obviously, I think those teams are elite.
Right, but
this has been a stacked division for a bit now, and now you've got teams making a run at it.
I am going. This is interesting. I don't even know where I want to introduce.
Let's start
this,
with
where
last place, and I can do my spiel on it first.
Okay.
Right? And to keep in mind, I have every team in this division with a winning record. There's only 5 games between 1 and 4.
I will give you a spoiler.
Just let me do this. And
I have one below 500.
Okay. So I've got my team that's in 4th place there because I believe in this division they have the 4th worst roster. All the coaching in this division I believe to be elite. Most of these rosters are super stacked, but there's one team that clearly has deficiencies, and that's Green Bay. And I have them at 10-7. I have them at 4.
Wow! So 10-7, missing the playoffs.
Correct.
I am floored right now. I am actually shocked. My last place team is also the Green Bay Packers, and I did not expect that for you. Now, I am concerned about the Packers
I just think
right
they
now.
have the worst roster in the division.
I think that's valid, and I think that's fair.
You put them in other divisions, and they might win it.
Some of them maybe. Here's my concern right now, and I think I went a bit aggressive on how low their record is going to be, and there's one factor that can instantly change it for me. But one thing that is truly still concerning to me is the Josh Jacobs situation, and we don't need to get into it necessarily, but he did literally get arrested. And one thing that I think gets forgotten about, and I'm not saying it'll end up this severe, but one thing that gets forgotten about is in 2014, people were still very actively in fantasy football drafts, which is in this current time. We're in fantasy football draft season. I did one tonight, right, before we hopped on. People were still very actively in 2014 drafting Ray Rice. Not high because we were all concerned, but they were drafting Ray Rice. And then you know what? He didn't play a snap of football again in the NFL. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to Josh Jacobs, but if it does, this offense instantly is terrifyingly bad compared to the
look, they lack wide receiver depth. They lack a true number 1.
Well, I
like Jordan Love, but
they lost Romeo Dobbs.
He's a gunslinger, and when he will put the ball in jeopardy, right? Mm-hmm. He's much more of the Favre, the Favre side of the house than he is the Aaron Rodgers side of the house.
Sure,
he is a franchise quarterback. I would say right now I would rank him 3rd best quarterback in the division. by the end of the season, it could be fourth. I'm only putting Kyler Murray at the fourth best quarterback in the league because let's see what he does. But I think there's high potential there, and so I think he's a great quarterback. I like the gunslinger mentality. Like, I don't have a problem with some turnovers from your quarterback if you can overcome that. But there's not the talent around him to do that.
I agree.
And I think they're a playoff team in almost any other division, even in the NFC.
So
just not this one.
Here's what I will say. I agree with that, specifically because the reason I have dragged them down so much is the Josh Jacobs situation scares me. I think even without Josh Jacobs, they could definitely win the NFC South.
And you don't know when Micah Parsons is coming back either.
Right.
And by the way, you're playing 3 teams in your division that have good offensive line play.
Yeah.
Well, 2 of them have elite. I think the Bears improved.
Well, no, the Bears have elite offensive line play that got worse because their center retired, but I think they're going to be able to fix that.
Oh, but I don't think that was elite offensive line play last year.
They were phenomenally great offensive line play last year. Joe Tooney won Protector of the Year. They're really, really good.
I'm not saying that they didn't have good players on there. I think as a unit it wasn't great at times, but neither here nor there.
I think it was really good. Caleb Williams went from his rookie season being the most sacked quarterback in the league to last season and got sacked like 20
part
times.
of that was his play, but neither here nor there.
No, but my point is they were bad.
Green Bay doesn't right now have an elite pass rusher. We don't know how Micah Parsons is going to come back, and they're going to be playing good offensive lines. So both offense and defense have holes. I think the roster in general is good. It's just not good for this division.
And that's fair. Anyways, to my what I was going to say is I think that without Josh Jacobs, they would definitely still win the NFC South. They would contend in the NFC East.
Think about it this way: I have them at 10-7, but I have them 1-5 in the division. So I have them doing pretty well outside.
But like I said, the Josh Jacobs situation does really scare me. To your point, we don't know what Micah's going to look like when he comes back from injury. They lost Romeo Doubs to the Patriots, which I think is a great addition for them. But the thing is that you have like 4 or 5 real number 2s at wide receiver in the NFL and no true number 1, and you lost one of your number 2s, so you lost depth, which was your biggest asset at receiver. And being depth, and now who's going to take the leap? Is it going to be Christian Watson? Is it going to be Matthew Golden?
But even with Jacobs and Parsons at normal play level,
sure,
they're still the 4th best team in this division.
And I do agree with that statement. I think where I would give pushback is that I think that currently where I differ with you is I think Jordan Love is the best quarterback in this division and has a chance to end up at 2 by the end of the season based on Caleb Williams. But
I think that's disrespectful to some of the other players. But
I disagree. But anyways, I think when you look at the talent, I think when you look at pure talent and not just numbers, I think numbers, it's obviously not even close. It's Jared Goff. I would think it was a bit aggressive on it. But I do still fundamentally agree with them being 4th place, most likely. I have them at 6-11 right now, which feels really bad. Kind of to your point,
I think
do
Jordan
they are
Love
still
is too
a good
good
roster.
not to win more games than that.
I think that is completely fair. I think that is completely fair.
He might lose 1 or 2, but he'll win them.
Right. And I think that's fair. So I think I went a bit aggressive, but I think that them bordering on below 500 is still really possible.
It's possible, especially if for some reason Jacobs and Parsons were out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, the Josh Jacobs situation does really scare me.
And let's not forget, at times, Love has also been a little injury-prone. Not lasting ones, but he's missed a game or 2 here or there.
Yeah.
He misses a game, and those 2 guys aren't playing. They're losing every one.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. We can get to 3rd place.
So, 3rd, I think we probably agree here, too. Maybe. I think this team's still really good. Keep in mind, they're going to make the playoffs more because I've had some of the other NFC divisions really bad. So they're only 1 game better than Green Bay in my book. I have Green Bay at 10-7. I have this team at 11-5. I also have this team 1-5 in the division. I just think these teams are going to be good outside the division because this is a tough one.
Okay.
I've got the Lions here. Their roster has been on the decline. It's still a very stacked roster, but they've had a lot of injury concerns on defense.
I don't know about stacked. It's a good roster now. But
offensively, it's a great roster.
Yeah, no, offensively.
Defensively, they have talent on defense, but they've also been very injury-prone the last couple of seasons. So I have them at 3rd at 11-6, which puts them in the playoffs because obviously I only had 1 playoff team in the South, and I only had 1 playoff team in the East. So obviously those have to come from somewhere else. So they're only 1 game better than Green Bay. I do think end-to-end their offense is clearly better. right? I don't even think that's when you got Gibbs and you got Amon-Ra and an underrated Jared Goff, in my opinion. Like, their offense is going to score points. What their defense will do, I think, is a question mark. And they have been kind of on their roster has, I think, the last 2 years gotten a little worse, right? But I still think they're a playoff team.
So here's where I'm going to be concerned, right? I will also let you know the Detroit Lions are third place for me as well. I have them as a little bit worse record than you do. If they get to the record that you have, it wouldn't shock me. But I have them at a little bit worse record than you do. I have them at 8-9. I just think that some of the issues you brought up are a little bit more impactful than what you may be giving them credit for. Just based on my opinion, they have lost several pieces on their offensive line. They now have Penei Sewell, who has been consistently the best right tackle in the league for a long time, transitioning to left tackle. Do I think he's still going to be really good playing it? Yes. Maybe even the best in the league? Maybe. But it is something to monitor. It's not just as simple as moving, right? Like, no, you're flipping everything that you do. Right, I agree, but it's not just as simple as sliding over, right? You're flipping everything you do completely. So could it maybe hurt him or take an adjustment? Possibly.
I think
my point being is they've just lost a lot of depth on the line. That's a big deal. You lost David Montgomery, which in terms of change of pace is a big deal. I think statistically, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a stupid season.
I would say Jahmyr. I will make a prediction right now. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have 15 plus.
15 plus.
1,500 yards plus on the ground.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't think that's, I need to look at the numbers. Scrimmage yards, he's had that every year of his career.
Oh, yeah. Sure. No, scrimmage yards, he's probably going to break 2,000 this year.
And
he will be a major workhorse.
Touchdowns, he's also, right, hold on.
But,
touchdowns-wise, he's also over that mark every year. But anyways, my concern right now, you did lose David Montgomery, so I think statistically that is really going to help Jahmyr Gibbs. But in terms of actual ability to turn that into being good offense, it gets a little bit questionable to me. But I think the number is right now something stupid. I know fantasy points isn't like exact, but science obviously, but fantasy points per game in games in his career where Jahmyr Gibbs plays without David Montgomery, I think that Jahmyr Gibbs averages something stupid like 27, 28 fantasy points a game in those games, which is ridiculous. So he'll be really good. What concerns me right now,
I think he could be the best fantasy back. I know that's not what everybody's predicting. I think he could be the best fantasy draft or back in the league this year.
Everybody's predicting it. It's either him or Bijan.
Well, I know, but a lot of people,
the other one's going number 2.
A lot of people are putting Bijan up there, but
anyways,
Gibbs in a much better situation than Bijan is, I think.
The thing that concerns me right now, right, their offensive coordinator is Drew Petzing. Last year, he was the offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, and he's been a couple other places before that. One thing that is true of Drew Petzing is he consistently produces a really good running game, which is great for Jahmyr Gibbs, right? You already have a really good running back, but consistently produces very not efficient passing games, and you're getting another year older of Jared Goff, and
he's still very much in his prime.
I think now he's 33, 34 maybe. 34 is probably high.
But he's been extremely durable. I'm not worried about that at all.
I am a little bit worried schematically. Because scheme obviously matters a lot. I am a little bit worried that the schematics of this offense will hurt them, definitely statistically, but overall output-wise as well. I think this offense could take a major hit. And if they do, their defense cannot afford for their offense to take a major hit.
I see what you're saying. There's just too much talent on that team at the skilled positions for them to be a pretty good offense.
Possibly. I also think at head coach, and this is not a slight on Dan Campbell per se, because this is just a stacked division as we keep getting to. I think at head coach, they have the 4th best head coach in the division. And I
agree in the sense that his players will run through a wall for him.
Oh, absolutely.
He changed the culture in Detroit.
Mm-hmm. He did, and that's a massive
made it what it's done. But where I will agree with you is, and we've had this discussion, for those of you that haven't heard me say this before, if you make a bad play call and it works, it's still a bad decision.
Sure.
He makes a lot of bad decisions because he's a gunslinger type at the head coach position.
Mm-hmm.
There are times where I love taking risks. I love the risk that teams play when it's to win a game instead of go to overtime. Love it. I agree with it every time it's done because your odds are much better. Otherwise, you're still somewhat putting your outcome in the flip of a coin, right? I always love it there. I love it if you don't feel good about what your defense is doing and it's 4th and 1 from the 20, and instead of taking 3, you try to get in there to get to the end zone. Love that too. What I don't love, and he's known for doing this, 4th and 1, first quarter, 4th game of the season on your own 30. Like, in this division, that stuff will lose you games. And so I agree with you, he's the 4th best, not because I think of his overall impact to his team, his city, and his players, but those decisions in those moments, at some point you would hope he kind of matures past that. Like, I like the aggressive nature when it matters. I hate it when it's dumb.
I agree with you.
Because as I told you, and I think this is the critical point when I think about this issue, is when we're watching football together and I'm yelling at the TV, "That's stupid, what are they doing?" And then they get it and you're like, "Well, it worked." It's still stupid.
No, absolutely. Now, I will say, to play the other side of that argument, I will say that I think that, to your point, the thing that he has done the best more than anything is that he's an elite culture setter, and that is a fact, right? And I do believe, to some extent, knowing that is where the mindset of your head coach is, it plays a major factor in the culture that they have built.
I agree.
And it's all gas, no brakes. And so I think that's part of it.
But wait till they have a losing season as a result, and that will change.
Agreed. And I agree to that statement. The other reason that I dock him...
A good analogy is, if I blow through a red light at 60 miles an hour and survive, it doesn't mean it wasn't stupid.
Right. And even if you don't get a ticket, it doesn't mean the next time you do it, you're not going to. Right.
Or arrested.
Right. Now, the other thing I would say is the reason I dock him in comparison to his divisional peers is that the other 3 are all elite schematic gurus, and obviously that is not Dan Campbell. He does rely heavily on his, at least schematically, on his coordinators, one of which he lost to a division rival, right? And the thing is, the point in that statement is that he lost both of them in the same year, who were both really good, 2 years ago, and there's a reason that last year, both of the coordinators he replaced them with are no longer there. And it's not because they got other jobs.
Yeah, look, it's the Sirianni effect, right?
It's the same thing.
When he doesn't have elite coordinators, it's not going to look as good. There's no question about that.
Difference is that Sirianni, in my mind, isn't as good as Dan Campbell because, like you said, to your point, Dan Campbell came in and changed this organization. Sirianni took a winning organization and kept it winning, which 100%. Is not nothing. He didn't sink the ship.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve.
He's not really keeping it afloat either.
As much credit as he gets, he also does deserve some credit. So, it is what it is. I don't like the guy at all, but the reality here is I agree with you. He's the 4th best coach, mostly for the 2 reasons. You mentioned one, I mentioned the other. You mentioned the schematics. Clearly, he's not the best X's and O guy in this division by far. And then from just the gunslinger mentality at head coach, it works when it matters. And like I said, those scenarios that I pointed out, I love it. Win or lose, I love it when that's what they do, versus put it in some other arbitrary person's hands on what's going to occur here.
Yeah,
I don't like it when it's early in a game. It's not relevant. Punt the damn ball. I hate
to your point. To your point, you said wait until that's the result, or that's the reason that they have a result of a losing season. To your point, even the year they went 15-2 and had a great roster, a big portion of it was injuries late in the season. However, a lot of that mentality and those decisions is a big reason why they went 15-2 and then lost to a rookie Jaden Daniels in the playoffs. Is they made some bad decisions in the game and it cost them.
I'm not arguing that. I just think that I agree with you from a mentality standpoint, but I think there's a happy medium, right? The league as a whole has changed that way a lot, right? The numbers game, right?
Analytics, obviously,
of course, and so it's changed.
With Dan Campbell, though, it's not, to your point. With Dan Campbell, though, it doesn't even feel like it's analytical. It's literally just I'm going to run through a brick wall, and
right?
We're not going to be moved.
To him, he believes his players will get it.
Yeah,
and I believe his players believe they're going to get it.
And a lot of times they do.
That mentality matters.
But when they don't, it's bad.
But when they don't, and it's in one of those weird situations.
Yeah.
Like, I remember there was one last year, I think, and they were on their 30. It was like 4th and 1. It's right before the half. They don't get it. The other team kicks a field goal and just gets more points right at the half. If you punt that, they don't get it. They probably kneel, right? And so it's those kind of situations where I'm scratching my head. Like, there's no way to make that smart, even if it worked.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2.
Now, this is interesting to me. So, like I said, the Lions, I did not have making the playoffs. They're 8-9. This means that this is the cutoff. I have these two teams in the playoffs. You obviously also have both these two teams in the playoffs because you also had the Lions in the playoffs. This is interesting to me because I think, honestly, it's kind of wild that you're picking the team to win the division that you did because I know it's not the other one, but this is okay. Anyway, continue.
I don't know what you're getting at, but so I have this team one game better than the Lions at 12-4 or
12-5.
It's missing a game on it for some reason. Anyway, I have them 5-1 in the division, splitting with number 1 and sweeping those bottom 2 teams, right?
Okay, quickly before you get into there, I did just want to mention because I forgot to bring this up. I did actually have the Packers go 2-4 in division. Lambeau's just a really tough place to play, so they're going to win a couple. I actually have, shockingly enough, the Lions as the best divisional record. They're 4-2 in division.
I have them 1-5 in division,
but anyways, so my last 2 teams I have both at 3-3 in division. I think this division, kind of to the point of talking about how good all these teams are, they're just going to destroy each other. They're going to beat each other up. Anyways, go ahead with your second place team.
Okay. So they're at 13-4. Sorry.
13-4. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're okay.
So 2 games better than the
Got
Lions.
you.
I like what this team is doing. Obviously, both of the head coaches at the top of this pile are both elite, in my opinion. I have the Bears at 2. I
figured.
But I think that's very good in this division, and winning 13 games in this division is a big deal. What I would say about this is I think they've done some good things with the roster. I don't like losing DJ Moore, but whatever.
He wasn't a long-term part of their plan anyways.
I understand
he was
that.
getting phased out of the offense last season when he was still on the roster. I don't think that's really going to hurt them.
I still don't like it. I don't love it. Let's just put it that way.
I just don't. I think it's a non-factor, honestly. I think between Rome Odunze and Luther Burden, they're
the thing that could change
so
my
much
mind.
that.
Here's the thing that could blow my mind and change it completely. Although we're still only talking a couple of games here, right? So it's not like.
Right.
And I have them 5-1 in the division, which means I have them beating 2 other what I think are good teams, and splitting with the other one, obviously, and then a couple of games outside the division. What I need to see is from the most critical position on the field, right? Caleb gave us some of the most brilliant fourth quarters last season. Maybe if you were ranking them, he might have had 5 of them, the top 5. Mm-hmm. Right, and then in the playoffs too. He's got
the stupid throw against the Packers on 4th down where he scrambled backwards like 30 yards and threw it off his back foot.
I remember yelling at the TV, I don't even know how I saw that guy. Right?
Yeah.
Look,
it's insane.
He's clearly got the clutch gene. He's clearly got elite talent.
And for all these reasons, he is so fun to watch.
In the fourth quarter. It's really shitty football for 3 quarters. And so the reason I have them at 2 is that I need to see him play 4 quarters like an adult quarterback. Because he is part of the reason they look so shitty for 3. So if he can even put together 3 quarters a game, then I would change my mind. I just need to see it first, and I haven't seen it yet.
I think that's fair. Okay, so I want to say a couple things on that point. First of all, Ben Johnson is incredible.
Of course he is.
Part of what Ben Johnson is really freaking good at, right, is building an elite running game and great blocking scheme, and then building the passing game from that. Not to excuse Caleb, because he had some very poor play, as you mentioned, in the first 3 quarters of games. But I also think that schematically, not that Ben Johnson didn't trust Caleb, but more so that he didn't put it on Caleb until he had to in the fourth quarter. I think that schematically there was a lot of just like try and establish the running game and try and do all this kind of stuff early in the game, and so it makes it look not as good. But I ultimately do agree with you. There are shortcomings there where you have to improve in the first half of games. If you're Caleb, if you're Ben Johnson, if you're the entire team, right? I guess my biggest question to you would be, I get you're saying you just have to see it first. Are you really concerned that it won't happen?
I am concerned it may still not happen this season.
Fair enough.
I do not think that's how his career will be, no.
Okay.
I think the talent is too high with Ben Johnson as his coach. Like, I do not expect that to be the long-term thing. I do expect this season we will see complete games from him. I don't expect it to be every game this year. And I still only have them losing 4 games.
Fair enough. I think that Ben Johnson is insanely phenomenal. Like, you're not going to get me to like. There's zero possibility way for me to talk about Ben Johnson and not just absolutely praise him and glaze him.
First,
honestly.
let me say
like,
something.
Ben Johnson is everything that I wanted Mike McDaniel to be.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
but let me say something, and I don't exactly mean what I'm going to say.
Okay.
But let me play devil's advocate just for a second.
Okay.
I agree with you about Ben Johnson 100%.
Sure.
And in his own way, he's doing what Campbell did with the Lions, right? It's been a long time since the Bears were relevant more than...
But also adding the scheme to it.
Correct. So let's be clear there. If he loses an offensive coordinator, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because effectively, like Andy Reid, he is him, right? Mm-hmm. What I will say is, we're talking about how brilliant Caleb was in the fourth and how brilliant some of those plays were and how much fun some of that was to watch. Mm-hmm. That wasn't coaching.
No, obviously. That was just Caleb.
That was just Caleb winning a game after being shitty for 3 quarters, right? And so my point is, I agree with you. I don't exactly agree with what I'm saying, but there's at least a possibility that he's not quite as great as we think, meaning Ben Johnson. I don't think that's true. And this was just Caleb pulling out heroics with his athletic talent and winning games.
I see the argument.
It's true.
Right.
But those games that he won like that wasn't coaching. That was instinct.
I will see the argument, and I will also grant you the fact that I understand you are acknowledging that you don't believe it either.
Right.
And I'm just going to say that's not true. Right. We're
sure,
just going to move on.
But if someone made that argument, I can't refute it right now, other than the way
that's
I
fair.
feel about it.
Now, I will say that the biggest argument would be, like, look at all of the other things around the edges. Look at the running game, how good it was. Look at the blocking scheme.
Like I said, I don't agree with it, but when they won those games because of Caleb, that wasn't coaching.
As I've already mentioned once in this podcast, look at the different in the amount of times. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but look at the difference in the amount of times that Caleb was sacked in his rookie season versus his second season. And some of that obviously is Caleb improving, but a lot of that
not holding the ball too long, getting rid of it when he needs to.
But a lot of that's been Johnson
scrambling for a first down instead of holding it.
Yep.
Yeah. Part of that is also coaching that out of him.
Exactly.
Right? Because Caleb had to learn, especially in that first season. I think he was still learning it last season, that every person on the field in the NFL is an elite athlete. Mm-hmm. You can't out-athlete them like you could in college.
Well, and that's why I was concerned about him coming out of USC. Why I honestly thought he was a bit overhyped was I was just like, look at any play he made in college, and that was just him being a better athlete than the other 20 players on the field around him.
Scheme. It wasn't him staying within the offense. It was, I'm a better athlete than everybody else I'm playing.
And I was like, you can't do that in the NFL. I was like, I do believe he has elite traits and elite talent, and he can.
You can make plays like that.
Right.
You can't consistently win games.
Right.
Like that.
But I did think he was an elite talent, and he had elite ability, and he could be really good. But I didn't think he honestly was going to be, just because that's what I viewed him at USC and at Oklahoma. Right.
That could still be his fate. I don't believe that because I think Ben Johnson's going to get it.
But I think we're already seeing that to be not true a little bit.
So anyway, my point is, I think he will put some complete games together this year.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they're all going to be that way, and that's going to result in a loss or two here and there.
And I think the numbers could look really, really good for him this year. I think that, especially like you said, if he starts to put.
I said this last year. I'm going on record again this year. It has to happen. He's throwing for 4K. for the first time in Chicago Bears history. I thought it would happen last season when Ben Johnson went there.
Hell, we thought it was going to happen his rookie season.
I did, but definitely once Ben Johnson got there.
Yeah.
He will be the first quarterback this season to throw 4K as a Bears quarterback. It's kind of nuts that with Cutler that didn't occur. But here we are.
I would also like to point out, just because we haven't really mentioned them, I do believe you did mention DJ Moore leaving. But I think that clears up so much room for Luther Burden and Rome Odunze both to be great.
I love Odunze. I think he's a clear number one in my opinion.
And they're both going to be really, really good. And some people are even thinking right now that Luther Burden could even be better. And we saw.
Like I said, I don't love it. I suppose I don't love it more than anything else because of where he ended up.
Sure.
Because I think that's big for Josh Allen. Outside of Diggs, that's the best receiver he's played. I would argue outside of Diggs, Moore's the best receiver he's had.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean,
and I'm not even sure that that's not closer than we think.
It's definitely not. Diggs was a top 5 receiver in the league for a solid 4 or 5 years. DJ Moore's never even come close.
Fair enough. But I'm just saying,
and he still won't with Josh Allen. But anyways. He is definitely the second best receiver that Josh has ever had. But, right. Anyways, so I do believe that the receiving duo can actually end up being really, really good for Chicago. They did also have Colston Loveland last year as a rookie that was performed really, really well at tight end. And then Cole Kmet as his backup now. That's going to be a really good tight end duo between DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, splitting carries in the backfield. They're going to be good. Their offense is fine. The question becomes, again, early offense consistency, and then mostly what does the defense look like? They were very opportunistic last year. They led the league in takeaways, but also weren't a phenomenal start-to-finish defense.
Let me give you a critical piece that has nothing to do with the defense.
You got to shore that up.
Let me give you a critical piece of this puzzle that has nothing to do with the defense.
Okay.
This offense is capable of giving you leads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Defense can be way more opportunistic.
Yeah.
And the overall talent of your defense matters so much less when you're playing with a lead.
And I am bullish,
which is why the Rams are inevitable.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If that offense is elite, and if they're putting up 30 points a game, and you're playing from behind the entire game with that pass rush, it's over. So if Caleb can put those games together, it takes a lot of pressure off the defense. And when you're just rushing the passer because you're trying to play catch up as the other team, it takes so much pressure off your defense. That's where Caleb has to play better for 4 quarters.
And I am really bullish for what it's worth on this offense. I do think that this Bears offense can average 25-plus points per game this year.
They're going to. I don't know if they will because, again, I'm not convinced he's going to put full games together quite yet. I think he will put some. But that's going to be – I think that's critical for the defensive side that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, obviously, that leaves number 1 as the Vikings.
Okay. All right.
Let me run this down really quickly. I think arguably right now I would rank their head coach at 1.
I think tentatively, yes, but it's going to be a flip-flop.
But it is a 1A, 1B situation.
Yeah.
Their defense, roster-wise, is unquestionably the best defense in this division. And they have the best defensive coach in this division in Flores.
Yes.
I don't think that's a question mark at all.
Agreed.
Their offense has arguably he is 1B at wide receiver, maybe 1A.
I think he's just 1.
I mean, Chase has done it with a variety of quarterbacks. We saw last year he struggled without one.
He has done it with much less variety of quarterback than Justin Jefferson has, but sure.
Justin Jefferson had really 3.
I mean, he's
Kirk
had
Cousins for most of it.
Kirk Cousins, Josh Dobbs,
anyway,
JJ McCarthy.
The point is, with 9
several.
last week, and I get 9 is bad, but with 9, he didn't do much.
Yeah, for the first time ever.
I know that. I'm not knocking him. I'm still saying he's 1B. Right now, I have to put Chase just a nudge above him, but neither here nor there. Elite wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
Addison's a great 2, right? I think he's right up there with the Higgins, right? So you've got that same dynamic. You've got a great offensive line play. This team is 1 season removed from 14-3. 1 season. Kyler Murray is a more talented quarterback than Darnold. Not stature, but overall talent. He's more accurate. He throws a better ball. He's much more athletic and movable. He's a better talent. There's a reason. He's the only NFL quarterback, by the way, ever drafted one that was also drafted 8 in the major leagues. I mean, that doesn't happen. There was other guys drafted in the major leagues, but not that high.
That doesn't matter. But
my point is, athletically, he is better.
Yes, athletically.
And hold on, let me finish this take. The other side of that is their arcs are similar in the sense, but he was with the Cardinals the other time. He didn't have a transition place or here or there where he got some other reps and got out of like a bad situation first. But I think going to McConnell with this talent level, and there's elite talent on offense, there's an elite defense. It's the best defense in this division, right? I'm not picking them to go to the Super Bowl because that's the Rams. This team, Kyler Murray is going to do the same thing Darnold did in the sense that he's going to make them pay him this time because they can't let another guy walk, right? They're going to sign Kyler Murray when this season's over. Whether the long-term solution, that's a good idea, I don't know. But I think Kyler Murray's going to come out and light it up. Let's not forget his rookie year. He was offensive rookie of the year, right? It's not like he hasn't done things.
That doesn't mean a ton. But
my point is, I think the change of scenery and great coaching and great talent, right? Arguably, I think this is the best quarterback Justin Jefferson's ever played with. And so when you look at it from those perspectives, it is inevitable to me that they win this division, right? And I think that Kyler Murray, I'm not picking him to win MVP, but I think he'll be in the talks because I think his numbers are going to be that great. Look, this is the best roster he's been on since he was at OU.
I disagree.
I'm not saying that OU team would beat an NFL player.
No. I disagree because I think 2020 Arizona Cardinals was a better team.
I don't think name a position where they were better.
I mean, they had J.J. Watt and Calais Campbell.
Okay, I'll give you J.J. Watt.
They had Budda Baker. They had...
I'll maybe give you Baker.
I mean, and they had...
Okay, let's put it this way. Give me an offensive player that's better than this offensive team.
They had
and don't
James
say
Conner.
D-Hop because he's not better than Jefferson.
No. But I would say James Conner.
But the offensive line wasn't this good.
No, but it was good. But I would say James Conner. I would say.
Anyway, you're naming a couple of B-level players.
Stop. I would say in both scenarios, tight end was relatively a wash. Like T.J. Hawkinson's okay. I honestly don't remember who was playing tight end for the Cardinals at that point.
Was it?
Probably not.
Anyway.
And I do believe that, yes, obviously Justin Jefferson is the best receiver compared to those two teams. But when you compare the overall receiver rooms, I think it was pretty close because you had on that Cardinals team DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald, obviously far past prime Larry Fitzgerald, but still a really good
best
receiver.
hands we've ever seen in the history of the game. But
right. But that's my point. You had both of them, and then you also had behind them Christian Kirk as well, who was a really, really good number 3.
I mean,
the Vikings
fast.
don't really
That's
have a
about
number 3.
Had.
Yeah, his
hands were
not
questionable.
overly fast. That's not true. He's not overly fast. He was just
Where is he today?
really good number 3.
Because he wasn't old. Where is he now?
Playing for the 49ers. Last season he played for
4 or 5?
the Texans.
My point is he's a journeyman.
Right now he might be like number 2.
My point is he's a journeyman. He's not that good.
In that time he was really good. Anyways, he was a really, really good number 3. And they had Hollywood
So what
Brown
would you might equate that to?
Stop.
Good quarterback play?
Stop. And they had Hollywood Brown at that time. And
Another
halfway through the
journeyman.
season, but super fast, had productive seasons
questionable
there.
hands.
He had productive seasons there.
Uh-huh.
And halfway through that season, they also added AJ Green, who had a decent back half of the year.
Green.
Right. But who had a decent back half of the year with them. What I'm saying is I think that team was slightly better.
Maybe
at least
they had
as of
elite
now.
quarterback play that season.
The quarterback play was really good for that 1 year.
And that's all I'm saying.
Yes.
All I'm saying is Kyler Murray, they're going to win this division because the rest of the roster is elite. Kyler Murray, I think the change of pace, going with a great offensive coach, he's going to have a great season. He's going to put them in a position where they feel like they have to pay him. Whether that's a good long-term solution, I'm not saying that. But for a 1-year lightning in a bottle, I think it's going to be fun to watch. They're going to put up huge numbers. He'll be in the MVP conversation. I'm not predicting him to win it. I think if everything goes away, I think it will. He will put up 4,500.
Okay.
It's going to be elite play. Sam Darnold did it, and I think he's a better player than Sam Darnold.
I fundamentally disagree there in terms of being an NFL quarterback. I think he is obviously more athletic. That's not a question.
And I think he's a more accurate thrower of the football.
I think he, in spots, is a more accurate thrower of the football. It's also statistically a fact. We can go look up the numbers if we need to. Kyler Murray does not use the middle of the field. Between the hashes, he does not touch. Now, part of that is he can't see it, right? Like, I believe that to be true. But that is a major offensive schematic issue that you have to work around, because considering the defense knows that if the ball is being thrown, it will not be to the middle of the field. That's a problem.
I mean, we'll see. The reality of this division is we picked it the same way.
I haven't given you my picks yet.
I know.
I do believe this team to be good. I do have them as a playoff team. I think that you are crazy overstating them for several reasons. I think that
are they not one season from 14-3? The same roster, basically?
Relatively. But what I'm saying is I think that
what was the problem last year?
Quarterback play, obviously. But, well, among other things.
Are you arguing that it did not improve?
No, I think
significantly.
I think the quarterback play did improve, but here's where I'm gonna get to. I think that Kyler Murray hasn't had a good NFL season since 2020, and again, there's a bunch of reasons to that.
Sam Darnold never had.
Okay, injuries, obviously. Situation, obviously, but my point is Kyler hasn't had a good season since 2020. So
and he's been in shitty situations the whole time.
Sure, but just to predict them to be 14-3, my point is before Sam did it, nobody would have predicted them to be 14-3, and then he did it. Sure, but my point
everybody thought the roster was capable of it. They just didn't. No one had any faith in Sam.
Go back to before that season. Nobody was even saying the roster was capable of it, and then they did. But my point being is that I just think this offense is going to have some ups and downs throughout the year trying to figure stuff out. I do think overall Kyler is going to have a good season, but trying to say that he's going to have an MVP level season, trying to see that
I didn't say he was winning the
MVP. You said he was going to have. I didn't say he was either. I said to say that he's going to have an MVP level season, which in order to be in the conversation, you have to have an MVP level season. To say he's going to have an MVP level season, to say they're going to win 14 games, I just think this is a bit steep. I am still concerned because I think that ultimately winning games can be a big part of it, and also losing games can be a big part of their quarterback play. And I think that is still a question.
I think the other important thing to point out here, it's a 4-game difference between first and worst in this division for me.
Yeah. Mine is 5 games.
This is very nuanced.
Sure. Mine is 5 games. So right there with you, but that's because I have all of these teams as worse than you do. I have the Vikings at second place in this division. I have them going 9-8.
9-8?
Yeah, 9-8. I do.
They're 1 year removed from 14-3 with this roster. What was their record last year?
8-9.
With 9. With 9.
Again, and I think a big part of that is I am just not as confident in Kyler Murray as I think you are, and your bias is allowing you to be.
Are you saying that Kyler Murray is not even 2 games better than 9? That's your take?
JJ McCarthy wasn't there for all of their wins. So
I know, and the backup was even worse.
One of them, Carson Wentz, wasn't.
For whatever one game he played.
I think it was like 2 or 3. But
anyway, my point is you're saying that Kyler Murray is not 2 games better than 9.
Again.
Or by committee.
That it's not a 1-to-1 correlation. First, I mean, you're not playing the exact same teams. You're not gonna have the exact same scenarios. So no, I think that is he possibly better, 2 games better than their committee that they had last year? Yeah, possibly, but it's also not a 1-to-1 correlation. And the other thing that really concerns me right now, that I would say my biggest question mark for them, is I'm not convinced Kyler Murray will play 17 games because he hasn't since 2020.
He's been playing behind terrible offensive lines and running for his life.
Sure, but
it's not going to be the case this year.
He's still going to run, though. It may not be for his life,
but not because he's about to die.
But my point is, if he's running, he's going to get hit. He might get hurt. My point is, if he gets hurt, and then you're going right back to 9, and you have no other answer, and then what does the season look like?
Again, I did this based on, I wasn't trying to take into account injuries, but neither nor there.
For most of it, I didn't either, but whenever it's a guy that is as injury prone as of a guy like him, I kind of consider it, but I'm not even necessarily considering it. I just think that his quarterback play is going to be good in spots and not so good in other spots, so I've got them at 9-8, and that is a playoff team. I think they're going to be a good team, and I think that depending on the matchup they draw, they could even win a playoff game. Like, I'm not like that. They're a good team. Anyways, number 1 in the division. I mean, depends on the season. Again, it's more of a nuanced conversation than that. I think that you can have a good season and things not go your way, and then you end up 9-8. I mean, things happen. I think they are a good team. Anyways, number 1 in the division, I do have the Chicago Bears. I just think that they're going to build off of last season, and I think that overall they're going to be a better team. I am also predicting them to have a worse record than they did last year, but I think that overall they will be a better team. This is going to be
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just don't think Caleb's going to be there enough yet.
But I
know
do
the
also
Vikings
think
have a better defense, and it's not close.
I do also think that record-wise, every single team in this division, based on what I'm predicting, will have regression. So I think that they're still going to win this division with a worse record than they had last year. I've got them at, 11-6. So I just think that at the end of the day, this division's really tough. They're all going to beat up on each other, and ultimately, the 2 teams that I have at the top are the teams with the 2 coaches that I trust the most. And at the end of the day, the difference for me between the 2 of them is one of them has a quarterback that I'm going to trust a little bit more, and the other one has a quarterback that I don't know is going to play 17 games. That's my concern right now. But both of these teams are going to be good. I mean, I think realistically there is a world where any of these 4 teams is really good, or all of these 4 teams are really good. And
well, obviously, I have a great deal of respect for. I have them all with winning records. So.
Yeah.
I think they're all good teams.
Yeah, and so I just think that this division is tough to call. They're all going to beat up on each other. They're all going to kill each other. And
I just think the Vikings are going to have a lightning in the bottle season.
I mean, but twice in 3 years, just is like, I don't know.
Maybe that's indicative of the coaching and the system. They just didn't have a quarterback last season.
I think that the coaching is really good. Yeah. I just think that.
Well, I think we agreed, at least for now, it's 1.
Yeah. And
so
I do.
You've got the best coach, you've got the best defense, and I don't even think that's close. And you've got the best wide receiver in the division. You've got a great offensive line. You're going to have a good running game because of your coach.
I don't think it's a great offensive line. I think it's a good offensive line.
My point being that the roster is the best roster in this division. Do I think Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray? Of course I do. But Kyler Murray with this offense in ways that we have not seen, like right now, I told you I'm ranking Kyler Murray the 4th best quarterback in this division. I'm not delusional about him, but talent-wise is so much of an upgrade of anything they had last year. Like, and again, I actually think talent-wise, not stature, but talent-wise, he's a better quarterback than Darnold, and I think that's a compliment because I think Darnold's really good. This team just has all the upside potential.
And that's fair. And for what it's worth, technically speaking, and I'm not picking it, I do not think it's going to happen. I don't think there's like more than a 4% chance that it happens. But I guess technically speaking, if they got to the end of the year and they were 14-3 and Kyler did throw 4,500 yards, would it be the most shocking thing in the world? No. Right? Like, I do have a good deal of respect for this roster. I do have a great deal of respect for this coach. And Kyler Murray, when he's healthy, is a good quarterback. I don't know.
And we've just never seen him with a roster like this, in my opinion, either. And a more mature version of him.
I think the 2020 Cardinals
even if you argued, close. And even if I gave you that the 2020 roster he was on was better, and from end to end, it's definitely not. But they didn't have a defense like this. Yes, they had J.J. Watt, but this was past J.J. Watt's prime, injury-prone J.J. Watt, yada, yada, yada.
He didn't get hurt that year, so he wasn't injured that year.
Even if I gave you all of that, there's no question that he's got better coaching now. He's a more mature player. He's been in the league. It's a different scenario.
Maybe.
I don't see that. But even if I did, those other things are still true.
And for what it's worth, I'm not even arguing necessarily that Cardinals roster was better. I think it might have been, but I'm not even arguing
Definitely
that. All I
wasn't
said,
better. You could argue the receiver room, although I think that's really sketch.
Again, my point is you're talking about these two teams as if they're not close, and that's not true.
I don't believe they are.
But that's my point.
Because all the players you brought up were all players past their prime, except for Kirk. Everyone else was past their prime.
That's not true. DeAndre Hopkins at that point was not past his prime yet. He was.
But Fitz was running 5 yards out every single play.
Fitz was still really
J.J.
good.
Watt was clearly past his prime at that point.
Not that season. He wasn't. Go back and look at he was actually really good that year.
Anyway.
And Calais Campbell was.
There's no way they had better defensive coaching. There's no way they had better offensive coaching. There's no way the overall.
You couldn't name who the coach was, so you don't know that.
That's why I know that.
Offensively,
if they were good, I could tell you. Because he'd probably still be there.
They were good. They were good.
They were better than the Cardinals usually are.
You know why he got fired? He got fired because Kyler got hurt, and so then they got bad. That's why he got fired. The answer is Cliff Kingsbury was their coach. So, which purely offensively, it's close.
I disagree.
Kevin O'Connell is definitely a better coach.
Wrap it up.
Than
Buttercup.
Kingsbury. All right, that's all we got. Fun last division preview. We did end up agreeing a bit more than I thought we would. I thought there was a chance we would have all 4 spots be different teams, but we did have 4 and 3 the same, and 1 and 2 had the same teams, just flipped them. I think that this division as a whole is a little bit worse than you do, but at the end of the day, we both agree that these teams are all really good, and it's going to be a phenomenal season.
Look, I think part of it is that I think some of the other divisions are just garbage.
And that's fair.
I think the South is relative garbage. I think the East is relative garbage outside of a team in both of those divisions. And then, obviously, the West is stacked, aside from the Cardinals. I don't trust the 49ers. Obviously, they already have an injury list longer than a CVS receipt, right? So it's really just 2 teams in that division. So part of it is they're just better than the other divisions. And they play those teams. So,
yeah. Anyways, thought we were wrapping it up.
We are.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm starving. I haven't eaten today. I had a lot going on at work today, and now
me either. I haven't eaten today either.
Clothes today, so
I haven't eaten today either. I should do that.
I am starving.
Same, actually. I was thinking about several times throughout this what I was going to eat for dinner. I don't know the answer to that question yet.
I was going to walk over to Turtle Mountain, but I want to change first, and I don't feel like it.
Fair enough. Anyways.
Or the block. I don't know.
Point being that we are all very excited for the season to start. Thank you for coming along with us on this journey as we previewed every team. I hope you got some enjoyment out of it. We'll see how close either of us end up being right or how wrong we all are and we all look like idiots at the end of this next season, because that's bound to happen. We are very excited for football to start. We are 2 weeks away from kicking off the NFL season.
From Las Vegas, Nevada.
1 week away from week 1 of college football. And I need to look at it. I think we are 1 or 2 days away from the first ranked college football game of the season.
Seriously?
In week 0. Yep. For college football week 0 is this week, and USC does play this week. It's either Thursday or Friday. So very exciting stuff for that. Nobody. But we have real football this week that actually is impactful on a national level. So, that being said, very, very excited. We are at a great time of the year. It's going to be a very exciting season. We are literally days away from real football being played. Yep. Extremely exciting. So, that's all we got.
Sweet. Generational B. Follow us on all
the comment, subscribe.
Tristan's going to get us up to date on Spotify. We got some feedback that people were trying to listen to us on Spotify, but he hadn't uploaded it in a while.
Yeah, not that I hadn't uploaded it. There were technical difficulties on the end of the software.
We got feedback. We hear you. One of our 5 followers.
Right. Hey, we cherish you. We cherish
for
you.
Sure.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
All right. We out.
Peace.
Peace.
The beef.